Welcome back to the channel, US Rare Coins News, Top 1. Today we are looking at a coin that millions of people have seen, but very few realize some versions of it can actually be worth far more than 50 cents. The 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar was created to celebrate 200 years of American independence. At first glance it looks like a normal half dollar. But hidden in this coin are special silver versions, rare mint varieties, and a design that makes it one of the most recognizable coins in modern American history, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for on your own coin, including a small detail that can make a big difference in value. Take a close look at the coin, hold it up to the camera and let the light hit it. You'll notice right away that the date looks unusual. Instead of a single year, the coin shows 1776 to 1976. That's because it was made to honor the Bicentennial of the United States. Now focus on the front. The obverse shows the familiar portrait of John F. Kennedy, facing left. This design has appeared on the half dollar since 1964, shortly after Kennedy's presidency. The portrait was created by Gilroy Roberts, and over the decades it has become one of the most recognizable faces in American coinage. If you're filming this part, a slow close-up across the portrait works well. Let viewers see the details in Kennedy's hair and the sharp lettering around the rim. Now flip the coin over. This is where the bicentennial version becomes completely different from other Kennedy half dollars. Instead of the usual presidential seal, the reverse shows Independence Hall in Philadelphia. The design was created by Seth G. Huntington, and it captures the historic building where the Declaration of Independence was debated and signed. If you're editing the video, show a slow zoom toward the building so viewers can see the windows, clock tower, and architectural details. That building is Independence Hall, one of the most important historic sites in American history. Now here's something many people don't realize: although millions of bicentennial half dollars were produced, not all of them are the same. Most were made with a copper-nickel composition and released into circulation. These are the ones people often find in old jars or coin collections, but special collector versions were also struck with 40% silver at the San Francisco Mint. If you happen to find one of those silver coins in excellent condition, its value can be significantly higher than face value. Collectors also look closely for mint errors. Some bicentennial half dollars show doubled lettering, off-center strikes, or small die cracks. Because the design has large flat surfaces, certain errors are easier to spot than on smaller coins. Imagine checking the date or the word Liberty and noticing the letters look slightly doubled. That small detail can instantly make a collector take a second look. Condition is another huge factor. Many of these coins circulated during the late 1970s and developed scratches and wear. Finding one with sharp details and bright surfaces is much harder than people expect. That's why collectors often send their best coins to grading companies like Professional Coin Grading Service or Numismatic Guarantee Company. These experts evaluate the coin carefully and assign a grade based on its preservation. And now for the question everyone asks: what is this coin actually worth? A typical circulated 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar is usually worth about 50 cents to $2 depending on condition. Uncirculated coins with clean surfaces can sell for around $5 to $20. The 40% silver versions can sell for more because of their metal content and collector demand, and high-grade certified examples have sold for several $100s at auction when the condition is nearly perfect. So the next time you see one of these half dollars, take a closer look, check the dual date, look at the reverse design, and pay attention to the coin's condition. You might discover something collectors are still interested in today. Now I'm curious. Do you own a bicentennial Kennedy half dollar, or have you ever found an interesting coin hiding in your change or an old collection? Top 2. Today we are talking about a coin that most people ignore, but in some cases, it can quietly be worth far more than 50 cents. The 1983 Kennedy half dollar looks ordinary at first glance, but here's the twist: this coin was never released in official mint sets, and that single fact turned everyday pocket change into something collectors still hunt for today. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what makes this coin special, how to spot the valuable versions, and what real collectors are actually paying for it right now. Now picture this: you're holding a Kennedy half dollar. On the front, you see the familiar portrait of President John F. Kennedy, facing left, clean and bold. The word Liberty curves around the edge, and the date 1983 sits below. Just under the date, there's a tiny D mint mark. That means it was struck in Denver. Switch to the back, and you'll see the presidential seal. An eagle with its wings spread wide, clutching arrows and an olive branch. It's a powerful design, full of detail. The words United States of America and $50 surround it. Now here's where things get interesting. In 1983, the US Mint didn't release any uncirculated sets to the public. That means if you wanted a pristine 1983 D. Kennedy $50, you couldn't just order it from the mint like in other years. You had to find it in circulation, and that created a problem. $50 weren't widely used in daily transactions anymore. So fewer people saved them. Fewer people searched for them. And over time, high-quality examples became surprisingly hard to find. So even though millions were minted, finding one in top condition today is not easy at all. Now imagine going through old rolls of coins or checking a forgotten drawer, and you spot a shiny 1983 D. That moment right there is what collectors live for. But wait, it gets even better. Some of these coins show weak strikes, especially on the hair above Kennedy's ear or the eagle's feathers on the reverse. Others can have off-center strikes or minor die errors. These aren't common, but when they show up, they can increase the value significantly. And here's a detail many people miss. Because these coins weren't preserved in mint sets, most of them have scratches, dull surfaces, or signs of wear. So when a truly clean, sharp example appears, collectors pay attention immediately. Think about that. A coin most people ignore suddenly becomes a standout just because it survived in great condition. Now let's talk real value, because this is what everyone wants to know. In average circulated condition, a 1983 D. Kennedy $50 is usually worth around $1 to $3. Not huge, but already more than face value. If you find one in uncirculated condition, with strong details and nice luster, it can range from $10 to $50 depending on quality. But here's the part that surprises people. In top-graded condition, like MS-65 or higher, these coins have sold for over $100, and in some cases, even a few hundred at auction when the quality is exceptional. And if you ever come across one with a clear mint error, that value can climb even higher. Depending on the rarity of the mistake. So the next time you see a Kennedy $50 from 1983 with a D mint mark, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. Check the details. Look at the shine. You might be holding something a lot more interesting than you think. Now I'm curious, do you already have a 1983 D. Kennedy $50 in your collection? Or have you ever found a valuable coin just by chance? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. Top 3. Today we are looking at a coin that almost never shows up in your pocket, and the reason why might actually surprise you. The 1973 Kennedy $50 wasn't meant to circulate like normal coins, and that single decision turned it into something collectors still chase today. Stay with me, because I'm going to show you what makes this coin different, how to spot the versions that matter, and why some of them sell for way more than you'd expect by the end of this video. Now imagine holding this coin in your hand. In the front, you've got the iconic portrait of President John F. Kennedy, facing left. The word Liberty wraps around the top, the date 1973 sits below, and if you look closely near the bottom, you'll see either no mint mark or a small D for Denver. Flip it over, and there's that bold eagle design, wings stretched wide, holding arrows and an olive branch. United States of America across the top, $50 at the bottom. It looks powerful, clean, and instantly recognizable. Now here's where things take a turn. In 1973, the US Mint made a decision. They stopped releasing Kennedy $50 into general circulation. Instead, these coins were only available in special mint sets and proof sets. Think about that for a second. That means most people never saw them in everyday change. They weren't jingling in pockets or passing through cash registers. They were being collected right from the start. So you'd think that makes them common, right? Not exactly, because even though they were saved, many of those sets were opened, handled, or not stored properly over the years. Finding a truly clean, high-grade 1973 $50 today is harder than people expect. Now here's something to look for. If you've got a 1973 coin with no mint mark, it was struck in Philadelphia. If it has a D, it came from Denver. Both were included in mint sets, but condition is everything. And then there's the proof version from San Francisco, marked with an S. These were specially made with mirror-like surfaces and sharp details. When you tilt one under light, it almost glows. Imagine a close-up shot here, rotating the coin slowly, showing that deep mirror finish and frosted design. But here's the part most people miss: some 1973 Kennedy half dollars have weak strikes, especially in Kennedy's hair or the eagle's feathers. Others can show doubling in the lettering or small die errors. These are subtle, but collectors notice them immediately, and when you find one of these unusual pieces in great condition, that's where things get interesting. Picture someone opening an old collection box, pulling out a dusty mint set, and inside, a nearly perfect 1973 half dollar that's been untouched for decades. That's the kind of moment that turns an ordinary coin into something special. Now let's talk about what these are actually worth. If you have a regular 1973 or 1973D in average condition, it's usually worth around $1 to $3. If it's uncirculated and still has strong luster, you're looking at roughly $10 to $30, depending on quality. Proof coins, especially with deep cameo contrast, can sell for around $20 to $50. But here's where it gets serious. High-grade examples, the kind graded MS 65 or higher, have sold for over $100. And top-tier coins in near-perfect condition can reach a few hundred at auction. And if you ever come across one with a clear error or exceptional strike, that value can climb even higher depending on rarity. So next time you come across a 1973 Kennedy half dollar, don't just assume it's ordinary. Check the surface. Look at the details. Pay attention to the shine, because this is one of those coins that hides its value in plain sight. Now I want to hear from you. Do you own a 1973 Kennedy half dollar? Have you ever checked if it's a proof or a high-grade piece? Or what's the one coin you'd love to find in your collection? Top 4. Today we are looking at a coin that millions of people have seen, but almost nobody really looks at, and that mistake could cost you a surprisingly valuable find. The 1972D Kennedy half dollar seems ordinary, but hidden in small details and condition, some of these coins have sold for far more than 50 cents. Stay with me, because I'm going to show you exactly what makes this coin worth checking, the subtle features most people miss, and the versions that collectors are actually paying attention to right now. Now picture this coin in your hand. In the front, you see President John F. Kennedy, facing left. The design is bold and familiar. Liberty stretches across the top, and the date 1972 sits just below. Look closely near the bottom right of the neck, you'll spot a small D. That tells you it was minted in Denver. Flip it over, and you'll see the presidential seal. An eagle with wings fully spread, holding arrows and an olive branch. United States of America curves above, half dollar below. It's detailed, sharp, and instantly recognizable. Now here's where things get interesting. By 1972, half dollars were no longer widely used in everyday transactions. People weren't spending them much. They were being saved, stored, or simply ignored. That created a strange situation. Millions were minted in Denver, but very few people cared enough to preserve them carefully. Most coins ended up with scratches, dull surfaces, or weak details over time. So today, finding a really clean 1972D is much harder than you'd expect. Imagine a slow close-up shot here, rotating the coin under light. You're looking for that original shine, that smooth surface, and strong detail in Kennedy's hair, because that's where value starts to separate. Now let's talk about the details most people miss. Some 1972D Kennedy half dollars have weak strikes, especially in the hair above Kennedy's ear or in the eagle's chest feathers on the reverse. That softness can lower value, but here's the twist: if you find one with an unusually strong strike, crisp lines, and full detail, collectors notice immediately. And then there are errors. They're not everywhere, but they exist. Slight doubling in the lettering, off-center strikes, or die cracks can turn an ordinary coin into something much more collectible. Picture a magnified shot here, zooming into the letters of Liberty or the date, showing tiny differences most people never notice. Now here's something that makes this coin even more interesting. Unlike earlier Kennedy half dollars from the 1960s, the 1972D contains no silver. It's made of copper nickel. That made people value it less at the time, which is exactly why so many weren't carefully preserved. And that's the pattern you see again and again in coin collecting. Coins people ignore often become the ones collectors chase later. Now let's talk numbers, because this is where it gets real. If you have a 1972D Kennedy half dollar in circulated condition, it's usually worth about $1 to $3. If it's uncirculated, with good luster and minimal marks, it can range from $10 to $40. Depending on quality, but here's where things change. High-grade examples, especially those graded around MS65 or higher, have sold for over $100, and exceptional coins with near-perfect surfaces can reach a few hundred at auction. And if you ever come across one with a noticeable mint error, that value can climb even higher depending on how rare and visible the error is. So the next time you see a Kennedy half dollar from 1972 with that small D mint mark, don't ignore it. Take a second. Look. Check the shine. Look at the details. Because the difference between a common coin and a valuable one often comes down to tiny things most people overlook. Now I want to know, do you have a 1972 D Kennedy half dollar in your collection? Have you ever checked it closely, or did you just assume it was worth 50 cents? And which coin would you love to find one day? Drop your answer in the comments. I always enjoy seeing what people are collecting. Top 5. Today we are talking about a coin that almost never touched everyday hands, yet somehow, it's still hiding in collections around the world, and in the right condition, it can be worth far more than you'd expect. The 1973 D Kennedy half dollar wasn't even meant for circulation, and that one decision changed everything about how rare it feels today. Stick with me, because I'm going to show you why this coin is different, how to spot the versions collectors actually want, and what real prices look like when condition and rarity come together. Now imagine holding this coin. On the front, you see President John F. Kennedy, strong profile, facing left. Liberty stretches across the top, the date 1973 sits below, and just to the right of Kennedy's neck, there's a small D mint mark. That tells you it was struck in Denver. Flip it over, and you get that bold eagle design. Wings fully spread, arrows in one claw, olive branch in the other. United States of America wraps around the top, half dollar at the bottom. It looks like any other Kennedy half dollar, and that's exactly why people overlook it. Here's where the story changes. In 1973, the U.S. Mint made a big shift. Kennedy half dollars, including the 1973 D, were not released into general circulation. Instead, they were only sold in official mint sets. Think about that for a second. Most coins get worn down in pockets, scratched up in cash drawers, passed from hand to hand. This one didn't follow that path. It went straight into collector's sets, so you'd expect them all to be in perfect condition, right? Not quite. Over the years, many of those mint sets were opened, handled, or stored in ways that caused toning, marks, or dull surfaces. So today, finding a truly clean, high-grade 1973 D is harder than it sounds. Picture a close-up shot here, slowly rotating the coin under light. You want to see that original mint luster, almost like a soft glow moving across the surface. Now here's something most people miss: not all 1973 D coins are struck equally. Some show weak details, especially in Kennedy's hair above the ear or in the eagle's chest feathers. That softness can lower value, but when you find one with a strong, crisp strike, sharp lines, full detail, that's when collectors start paying attention. And then come the small surprises. There are examples out there with minor doubling in the lettering, die cracks, or slight off-center strikes. They're not common, but they exist, and when they show up clearly, they can push the value higher. Imagine zooming into the word Liberty or the date, showing tiny details most people would never notice without magnification. Now here's the twist that makes this coin even more interesting. Because these coins were never meant for circulation, a lot of people assume they're all easy to find and not very valuable, but in reality, high-grade examples are scarce, because so few survived in truly pristine condition. Over the decades, that gap between expectation and reality is what drives collector interest. Now let's talk about value, because this is where everything comes together. A typical 1973 D Kennedy half dollar in average condition is usually worth around $1 to $3. If you have one in uncirculated condition with decent luster, it can range from $10 to $30. But when you get into higher grades, things change. Coins graded around MS65 or better have sold for over $100, and exceptional pieces with near-perfect surfaces can reach a few $100s at auction. And if you ever come across one with a visible mint error or unusually strong strike, that can increase the value even more depending on how rare it is. So the next time you see a 1973 D Kennedy half dollar, don't just assume it's another common coin. Take a closer look. Check the details. Look at how sharp it is, how clean the surface feels under the light, because sometimes, the difference between a $1 coin and a $100 coin comes down to details most people never notice. Now I want to hear from you. Do you already have a 1973 D. Kennedy half dollar in your collection? Have you ever checked if it's a high-grade piece, and if you could choose any coin to add to your collection, what would it be? Drop your answers in the comments. I read them all and love seeing what you guys are finding. If you enjoyed this and want more videos on coins hiding real value in plain sight, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out the next video, because the next coin we talk about might already be sitting somewhere in your collection, just waiting to be noticed.